Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded on Saturday, the 21st of June, 2025, posted to all media channels on Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, real quickly, if you find value in these shows, just take a moment to subscribe, like, share. All those things really help the channel, and they're all free. I know we get asked all the time whether subscribing, there's a charge. If you subscribe to a channel, it's all free. So thanks for that. Really appreciate everyone's support. Got a wonderful group of questions. But at the top of the show here, I just thought I'd mention a couple housekeeping items. For those that want to join our Platinum membership, where you can join live streams on Fridays, access to hundreds of videos in the YouTube channel archives, including instructional videos. The join button is on the front page of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. So one other quick item that I kind of want to go through at the top of the show here. I was in the hospital a week ago today, so great to be with you. It was a big surprise to myself and my wife, Linda. But thought I'd go through a couple of things. First off, I want to thank everybody for the wonderful love and prayers and Reiki and all the good well wishes that came forward. It was really wonderful to see, and my wife, Linda, and I greatly appreciate it. So really want to get that out there. Thanks for all the great support, and special thanks to Linda Grindle, the Comanche psychic, that was really with us every step of the way. So wonderful for her. Real quickly, let me start off by saying that now, as of today, I'm half German sports car, Porsche, and half RoboCop or Robo Psychic. So let me explain. I kind of took a few notes here. It was roughly about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I ran over to UCLA into the the outpatient area just to get some help with a cough and kind of an upper respiratory infection, kind of very normal. And while I was there, they always check your vitals and they checked my heart rate, and they said, by the way, did you realize your heart rate is extremely low? I said, well, it's always been low for a long time. Really didn't think of it, much of it. They said, can we run a fast EKG on you? They did. And it came back and they said, well, you got an issue. And the issue, not to get too technical, they call, I think, a second degree AV block. So they said, really, I suggest you get that taken care of or take a look at. Made an appointment with a cardiologist, I think the next day or the day after. They fitted me real quickly with a 7-day EKG monitor. And when the results came back, they said, when do you want to go into the ER? And I was like, excuse me? They said, no, you need to get over to the ER like now. I said, really? They said, yeah, you have dangerously low heart rate and really needs to be addressed. So told Linda, and we made arrangements to kind of go over to the hospital, which we did. Kind of interesting. I had no symptoms whatsoever for many years, asymptomatic, no shortness of breath or anything. So it was kind of very unexpected, but they said you really need to get over and get that looked at in the ER. Long story short, the hospital ended up implanting a pacer, advanced German technology. Even came with a company rep that was there for the whole process, the whole operation. But they ended up implanting a pacer to make everything, more regular. And really thankful. The doctor that I got connected with was one that trains a lot of the doctors at the hospitals. Wonderful guy. Kind of a quick, funny side story. I found out I was a psychic medium. Asked me for a reading on the spot. I gave it to him. My wife was in the room, and it was exactly the information I relayed to him. Really made a lot of sense for him, and really was dead on. And from then on, all the way up through the operating process, he was asking me all kinds of psychic questions, and even asked me, "What do you get on that doctor? What do you get on that doctor?" All the way up through to the operating room. So kind of funny, a great guy, but really, interesting guy. I'll tell you that before I went to, there was in two different hospital locations. The first hospital location, from a spiritual standpoint, lots of angels, guides, family members in the realm. On the other side, walking up and down the hallways. I was telling Linda, we were outside one gentleman's room. His parents were actually outside the room getting ready to receive him. He was an older gentleman, but his parents in the spirit were standing outside the room ready to receive him. There were angels walking up and down the room. Also, when I was in the final hospital where they did the operation, there was like a head nurse in the spiritual realm walking up and down the operating area, still kind of holding court. So it's kind of interesting to see all these things. And last but not least, before I went in the operation, there were two Pleiadians and one very tall praying mantis ET who went by Aja or Asia. And he said, just so you know, everything's going to be fine. So actually, I found that very comforting just before I kind of went into the operating room. In the end, still recuperating, making great progress. And I will tell you what's interesting about it is that, if it's not your time, you're not going to go. I apparently was at a very high risk element, didn't realize it, and they didn't want to, scare me, but they said had it gone on, several more weeks or whatever this was, it would have been a good outcome. Now, I'm not afraid to pass, but I'm more concerned about, my wife Linda, making sure all that's good, But it was just interesting, if it's not your time, your guides and angels will be with you. They'll guide you through to the right people. And lo and behold, I probably would not have found out about the condition had I not gone in for the cough or the upper respiratory infection. So it goes to show you the universe has a way of, working through everything. And, if it's not your time, it's not your time. So had lots of questions about that, the hospital stay, what it was all about. Again, kind of half German sports car now and half RoboCop, Robo Psychic, but all good. So anyway, wanted to share all that with you. For this week's show, we actually had 1,113 questions. So my wife did go through all of them, Linda, came up with a batch of questions I'll share with you now. We'll go through real time. And I think there's like 69 questions on this show. So without any further delay, let's get going on that. 69. Does Iran currently have nuclear weapons in development, and how close are to deployment? I get from my team they're within 1 year, if not less, of being able to deploy a nuclear weapon. And so we've got an issue there that needs to be addressed in the Middle East. And of course, a lot of that's ongoing right now. All right. 68. If America attacks Iran directly, and not sure if this is the case, do you see any retaliation from Iran or U.S. targets? I do see them supplying advanced military hardware in terms of like bunker buster bombs. And there's something going on here where they're actually going to try to assist Israel. But I don't see direct retaliation in the U.S. other than I'll call it some loner sleeper cells in some cities. But I don't see kind of a massive strike on the U.S. But 67. Who is ICE at its core and who is behind the masks? Are they gang members from El Salvador, gang prisoners, paid mercenaries? Who are they? I see approximately something like 1/3 of ICE are, I won't call it paid mercenaries, but I'll call them paid military, let's say retired military or retired police officers, something going on here with about having ICE augmented and paid by about one third. I don't see them as gang members, but I do see them. It's coming across to me from my team as like retired or people that come back into service somehow. So that's what they're showing me. 66 in the countdown. When 45 and Vance are removed from office, what happens to all the conservative media outlets like Fox News, Newsmax, and other media company personalities who lied and spread propaganda on 45's behalf? They're gradually going to start reporting the real news because the facts are going to come out. You've already seen this happen in New York, where they showed that Kamala received zero votes in kind of a highly Democratic area. There's some things that are nonsensical, but as the facts start to come out and they're indisputable, that's the key. A lot of these news outlets are going to start to shift gears because it'll be impossible to not report the truth. Okay, so there'll be a gradual shift, right? A lag effect, but there'll be a gradual shift. 65 in the countdown. Anonymous has recently posted there will be an attack on domestic soil backed up by evidence, but that it will be blamed on the Middle East when it is actually an ally. Is there any truth to this claim? I don't see the foreign sponsored attack. And they're asking about U.S. soil and domestic soil. Remember, I do see some lone sleeper cells in some cities. Don't see massive attacks. I do see some buildings disrupted, some infrastructure, but don't see the false flag attack. They may in fact try, but it looks like evidence is uncovered very, very quickly, and everybody figures it out. So, but that's what my team's showing me. 64. 45 has demonized Democrats and they are being attacked, detained, arrested, and now shot in their homes. Will this continue as I am sure they are working to create fear so Democrats will not speak against the 45 regime? So here again, we're going to see pockets of violence. I'm sorry to say. Better security. I see a real ramp up in security for a lot of people in Congress and government. And better, like actually using AI for better diagnostics and determination of where some of the radicals are or what could be happening, like using its social media profiles and things here. But yeah, there's be like a continuing violence here. I think the question is, uh, so it'll continue in pockets of violence. Just kind of what we're seeing. I don't see it spread out massively across all of government. Okay. 63. Former President Barack Obama recently made an unplanned speech in Connecticut. Is his presence at events preparing us for his return because President Obama knows he'll be helping us out of the mess once the current 45 regiment is gone? So I get he is very well versed in everything going on in the public, behind the scenes, with the electronic election interference we've talked about many times on this channel, involving data centers, satellite services companies, tabulators. There's a lot going on here. Yes, he'll be part of the group I've talked about before, be a very large group. They'll help kind of shepherd in the new government, the election process. It's a process here. The nation has not been through this before. 62 in the countdown. What is the reason behind 47 leaving the G7 summit so early? Did they have a plan to back him into a corner? What I get is there's some ego involved here with 45, and he actually believed that he somehow could gain greater prominence by getting involved in the Middle East conflict and trying to show himself as a hero or a big bully. There's something about an opportunity to it fed his ego more than being at the G7 summit. My team's saying this is kind of a lot of ego based, is what drove that. Not so much that they thought they'd back him into a corner. Okay. 61. Will there ever be another world war after full disclosure, or will our ET friends keep unstable nations like North Korea, Russia, and China in line? So the overall plan by all the extraterrestrial groups is to create greater stability in the world, greater knowledge, greater insight. That's how the universe works. So also at the same time to create technology that disables large weapons and keeps large weapons that would devastate humanity under control. So it's all part of a larger plan. They're asking, will there be another world war? I don't see it. Don't see another world war that pulls in, many of the nations or countries of the world. The technology exists right now will actually disable much of the large scale weapons. Okay. 60. Do different types of ETs communicate with each other using a language based on mathematics rather than language as we know it? No, actually, yeah, extraterrestrial species could actually translate over 1,000 languages. Very true for a lot of the advanced species. They also communicate telepathically, which translates like to a language, but not mathematics. That actually it can assimilate into what people would understand here as a language or one of 1,000 different languages. But they translate very, very quickly and they communicate telepathically very easily with each other. But they don't communicate, say, just in mathematical symbols, no. 59. Hello, Sterling and team. Do spirits have brains or something similar when you die and your brain dies? How can spirits still think? So you always have universal consciousness, which is part of your spiritual, your soul DNA. Think about it as like a mini data center that travels with you all the time. And that consciousness, that knowledge, that entire group of soul DNA that goes from lifetime to lifetime is very intelligent. There's an intelligence. That intelligence translates into a consciousness so you can communicate. Okay. 58. Hi, Sterling. You often refer to speaking with millions of guides and angels. Can you please explain how millions is possible? I don't understand the concept. Sure. So once you tap into the other side, you're tapping the what I'll call a universal telephone company. If you're allowing yourself to be used as a telephone, I make that metaphor all the time, you're able to actually communicate with really almost anything that's on the other side. Now, if you allow yourself to be used as a tool, let's say a helpful tool, those that need to communicate through you will come through you. And there are millions on the other side: guides, angels, family members, other people from history. So that's how it translates to millions. And in fact, if you're talking in a collective consciousness, which you can do that. You can talk to individuals on the other side, or a collective group, or a soul group. What they might talk with one voice. But it really, the best analogy is a large scale universal telephone company. You can dial anybody up. You can talk to one person. You can talk to many people on like a conference call. And that's how it works. 57, do spirits come through differently with different mediums? For example, boisterous with one and more subdued with another. In my experience, all spirits represent themselves as who they are. So, not necessarily more boisterous with one psychic medium and less with another. They come through with an element of their personality. Even, souls on the other side maintain a certain flavor of their personality. A lot of times they even show themselves how they looked on Earth. But I have not seen, in my experience, that kind of diversity of range of one particular soul communicating differently, extremely so, than with another psychic medium. 56. I live next to Rockland County in New York, where Smart Elections Group was involved in uncovering the anomaly in the votes for Kamala Harris in 4 districts in Rockland. She overwhelmingly won all 4, yet not one vote was calculated for her. She received 0 votes in what was certified. Smart Elections polled and pulled ballots, and now the Supreme Court is starting discovery on 9/22/2025. California is recounting. North Carolina, Georgia, Utah, Arizona, and counties in Pennsylvania. Why aren't news media talking about this? So they will. And actually, we're not that far away from within a few weeks here of a lot of this coming out to the press and the media. The media is being ultra conservative right now, just mean they're waiting till the information is it can't is refuted, can't be refuted, basically. So this is the vetting process we're going through right now in the back end, but that they're being really because of the lawsuits that have occurred. Like you look at the Fox lawsuit with the voting machine manufacturer, being very, very careful where they go with the information. It's coming out within a few weeks. This all aligns with the AIMS strategy we talk about all the time on this channel. The letters being AIMS, right? Analysis, investigation, movement, mobility, military, separation. Okay. 55. Reports say that Social Security fund will run dry by 2033. What do your guides see for the future of Social Security, and when will it eventually run out? I get this would only be the case if Congress did nothing. And that's not the case. Actually, within 2 to 3 years here, looks like there'll be new programs, new financial programs, budget programs put in place to safeguard Social Security. So it's true that I think the budget office or whatnot did calculations that it would run out or run dry by 2033 if Congress did nothing. It's not the case. Over the next 2 to 3 years here, you're actually going to see new programs come into play. 54. I recently read an article that indicated the current budget bill before the Senate now has deeper cuts to Medicaid done by the Senate currently. Is this true? I do get there's deeper cuts there, but I get they're like closing off loopholes or something. So maybe these are tax loopholes or something. So it's actually not going to be as bad as maybe is being reported. But they're showing me some closing of sketchy loopholes or tax loopholes related to Medicaid. So I'm not seeing a lot of concern in that area. I'm just saying it looks like a refinement in the bill is what they're showing me. 53. Hello, Sterling. There are recent reports of seamless metallic spheres flying around Colombia and Mexico right now. They seem to be some sort of drone flying around. Are they man-made or reverse engineered ET drones? I get there's two significant drones flying around that are extraterrestrial related. In fact, they're owned by Palladian. However, there's like dozens of man-made drone spheres that are not extraterrestrial aligned. So people might be conflating or confusing some of what's being observed. There are definitely two very large surveillance ET drones, metallic spheres that are flying around that are monitoring these areas. 52, hello Sterling. 45 says he is sending the U.S. Nimitz over to the Middle East area. He says it's an old ship. He does not care if it gets hit. Do you think Israel will hit the ship and say it was Iran? No, I don't see this taking place. As a matter of fact, I'm getting this ship is going to play an important role in the bunker buster technology we were talking about earlier, but I do not get this is going to be like a sacrificial lamb or something of that nature. No, I don't get that at all. 51. In regards to RFK Jr., he's blocking life-saving and life-improving therapies and vaccines that the NIH and the pharmaceutical industry want to bring to market. How long will RFK Jr. continue in his job? I get he's going to be in his role out into the beginning of next year, and I do get that there's a newly installed medical council or review board or something installed. Now, he may have had something to do with who was selected, but what I'm getting is these individuals, the newly selected medical or vaccine board, they have a conscience and they're actually going to do a better job than people expect in kind of fairly reviewing things. So, but in terms of RFK Jr., it looks like he's getting the position out into the beginning of next year. 50. Do you see CRISPR gene editing technology providing a cure for the pain and numbness caused by peripheral neuropathy in the next 5 to 10 years? I do get, again, not a doctor, but I get there's advances with gene editing around cardiovascular technology. They're also going to help, and advances around cancer treatments. They're going to help with this particular, they're calling it, what does the person just call it? Peripheral neuropathy. Again, not a doctor, but they're showing me within 10 years, gene editing, CRISPR advances around cardiovascular and cancer treatments are also going to help with this area. So yeah, it's all coming within 10 years in this area. 49, do you see any major advancements in artificial eyes or eye transplants for the blind in the near future? By the year 2040, there's going to be 3D printed biological eyes and materials that will be applicable to this area. So if you look at 2040, we're looking at 15 years out, right? 1-5. But they're showing me it's AI technology combined with 3D biological printing technology. Okay. 48. Do ETs have life lessons and experiences to learn from and grow from as they live on their planets the way we do here on Earth? Do they have long lives or live somewhat the same lifetimes that we do, depending on circumstances? So every entity in the universe goes through life lessons and development. Every entity, every species. It's all part of a universal plan. So nothing unique. It's a little different though. If you look at the evolution of extraterrestrials having evolved over millions of years, different than Homo sapiens sapiens, humanity, they have an advantage kind of in the types of lessons they're learning. The other thing is, I think maybe this was asked here, the average lifespan of most advanced extraterrestrials is 400 life years or 400 Earth years. So they live definitely a lot longer than us right now, but they do go through life lessons. They go through soul lessons. They have souls just like we do. 47, will California Governor Gavin Newsom prevail in the lawsuit against 45 for deploying the National Guard in Los Angeles, or what will be the outcome? I see this going back and forth like a volleyball. In the end, it looks like Gavin Newsom will win in the end, but it looks like several volleys back and forth through various courts. And then in the end, Gavin Newsom will be victorious, what they're telling me. 46, will the violence in Los Angeles escalate to other cities? Well, yeah, I mean, what we're seeing, we've been seeing in the news, this is actually a nationwide, even a worldwide issue around human rights, and especially around immigrant rights and what ICE is doing. So it involves cities worldwide, even across the country, of course. But I do see that people are going to help keep a lid on it. So you're not going to see an overwhelming amount of violence, but the people are going to get their point across. And you've seen that happen, I think, on like the recent No King's Day march, right? 45. Is the deployment of the military in Los Angeles, California, what you're referring to that may happen in Texas later this year, or that's something completely different? Right. So in a prior session, a reading, I was seeing some sort of martial law occurring in Texas. It still appears there's something coming that's different for Texas. There's a little bit different than what we saw like in Los Angeles. It's like almost 1 degree, a little more severe or tamped down for some reason. Texas is going to get through it, but it's something a little bit different, a little bit closer to martial law. And remember, I said that martial law would not be around that long. So it was like days or something like that. It would be very quick. 44, RFK Jr. just overhauled the CDC vaccine panel experts, which may affect long-term access, contribute to health problems for many people. Do you see this being a huge problem? So I think we actually just kind of addressed this a couple of questions ago, but I'm happy to kind of readdress it here. I see that like the beginning of 2026, RFK Jr. will be out. The panel that got installed looks like they have a conscience, look like they're going to help in terms of flu vaccines, COVID vaccines. So I see some sort of a balance there, like a better balance. 43, the Department of Justice Public Integrity section that prosecutes public corruption was greatly reduced in size by 45 this week, now that a collective database of every citizen is now available, including who they voted for. Do you see bank accounts, businesses, and assets being frozen or absorbed, disappeared by the administration solely because they voted democratically or spoke out against 45? They're showing me that some of this is going to affect politicians or people in Congress. So I do see some members of government or Congress having accounts seized or something of that nature. They're not showing me it's for the general public, right? Overall, I don't see it for the general public. Okay, 42 in the countdown. Will the current administration succeed in dismantling top U.S. universities by holding back funds that are critical to their financial lifelines? Will the courts block these efforts to support America's higher education institutions? Well, here again, I see something like 4 rounds of legal back and forth between 45 administration and these top universities. I do see in the end, universities receive their funding. It looks like around third, fourth quarter this year. So some sort of back and forth, and the universities will prevail and get their funding. 41. It appears 45's actions against Governor Newsom are personal. What is really behind him targeting Newsom? Does 45 have future plans to attack other governors in blue states? Yes, he does. But you know what? It looks to me like a lot of the blue state, to say governors, are really gonna rise up in a way that shows conviction, power, strength. It's all part of kind of a refining fire process going on here. But I do see 45 going after other blue states, governors. It looks like Governor Gavin Newsom is kind of, being kind of a representative example of kind of how to push back on bullies. 40. Why would a soul choose a life of bullying, repetitive rejection, and aloneness? What is the lesson? So remember, all life paths are interconnected. So a lot of time people, when they ask kind of questions, and I understand why, they're thinking about it from the soul perspective. But remember, this is a joint experience down here on earth. So what you experience also translates to your family, friends, doctors, people you don't know. It's a combined experience. And I find older souls always take on kind of more dramatic circumstances in order to kind of work through it, help teach other people. It's usually an old soul characteristic when traumas are more severe. 39, Sterling. You have indicated that ETs are working with scientists right now. Are they in physical form with a scientist, or is this information being transmitted to them in another way? And are governments aware of this interaction? So, in many cases, the majority of cases, they're working in the physical form in very top secret areas. Area 51, many areas around the world. They're actually working in the physical form. In some cases, there are individuals very tied to the other side. A psychic medium, for example, many psychic mediums communicating with extraterrestrials also telepathically to help. But there's a lot of hand-to-hand physical form interaction going on with scientists around world peace, weapons, free energy, a lot of things here around the sciences, and they're interacting in the physical form. 38. Hi, Sterling and team. Steven Spielberg is doing a new movie about disclosure. He has created multiple movies about our celestial friends, and it makes me wonder if he's been one of the chosen humans who has made contact. Um, yeah, I get. Yeah, actually worked with a number periodically of ET species, both telepathically and face to face. So he actually has. He's part of the messaging team to bring out the information to make full disclosure more comfortable for everybody. 37. Are Russia and the Kremlin linked to Starlink? In other words, is the White House connected to Starlink, enabling information transmissions that could be compromised and are critical to our governmental affairs? For entertainment purposes only, yes, I do get there's a back channel set up there through this satellite services company that is creating a communications back-end backflow to allow cross communications worldwide. Okay. 36. What happens to our intellect when we cross over? If it's high, does it stay high? Conversely, if it's low, does it stay low? Well, you remember here again, you always take the life lessons as part of your complete soul DNA with you. So it's like a compendium, a digital data center you're taking with you. So remember, a high intellect or low intellect is actually part of a life path plan or a feature that you've woven into your life path for some reason. Again, either because you want to, there's something you want to prove in life, or there's some people around you you want to help, or it's teachers that help you. But it's actually part of a life path selection, but not necessarily, doesn't necessarily roll forward. So if you decide to have low intellect in one life, you're carrying low intellect on the other side. Now, it doesn't track that way. It tracks with your free will decisions as to what you want to experience. 35. I read this week that some scientists from an organization called Whale SETI, in conjunction with UC Davis, are investigating whether humpback whales are trying to communicate with humans using patterns of bubble rings. Is this true? Yes. I just got an absolute yes. They're actually trying to use, actually, whales are very sophisticated in this area, can use bubble rings to communicate, as well as ultrasonic communication. Some sort of sounds they make, a bit ultrasonic. Uh-huh. I'm also getting this is also very well understood by many ET species. They understand this language. 34. Why does the human species have different races? It's all based on the various forms of extraterrestrials that have come down to Earth and how they've assisted in the development of humanity and what are now Homo sapiens sapien. All related to different extraterrestrial species, what types of let's say planting or cultivating they did worldwide. 33, will the five Proud Boys who were pardoned win their current lawsuit against the federal government regarding their unlawful arrest claims in response to the January 6 riots? I don't get they're going to win their legal claims. I guess it's going to go back and forth, and I get a judge is going to uphold the legal sentence. So it does not look like they're going to be able to get they're looking for pardon. It's not going to get pardoned by the courts. No. And actually, let me be clear here. This is the five boys who were pardoned, win their current lawsuit against. Okay, got it. No, I still, my team's still saying that they're not going to win their lawsuit or their case. No. 32, hello, Sterling. 20,000 missiles designed to specifically target drones were supposed to be sent to Ukraine, but instead are being diverted to the Middle East. President Biden had arranged for these shipments to ensure Ukraine's safety. Will anyone from 45's administration be held for treason for this specific action? No, I don't see people being held for treason. It looks like these specialized 20,000 missiles that were for drones or something were reapplied to some other Middle East conflict here. It does not come up to me as a treasonous act. It looks like there's other military capabilities supplied to Ukraine in exchange or is opposing this 20,000 missile shipment. So no, my team's saying this is not a treasonous act. There's some other complementary support, even other world countries coming to Ukraine in the advent of these other 20,000 missiles being diverted. Remember, they were focused on drone technology. 31, currently Gen Z kids express hopelessness when it comes to the future of the economy. Many of them can't afford to move out of their own, and they don't see an end in sight. How will the post-45 economy benefit Gen Z and younger so they can establish the new American dream? So everything is going to level out in a good way for Gen Z, but is approximately 5 years out. You look at the year 2030. It's going to take that long for the economy, a lot of elements in the economy, workforce, education. So I would say to Gen Z, be a little patient. I know patience is hard, but it will actually all kind of resolve itself within about 5 years' time. 30. David Jolly just announced he's going to run for Florida governor. He started out as a Republican, then independent, and now a Democrat. Will he win? I do see that he's going to win for the Florida governor. That's what they're telling me. 29. Sterling, does the information from the Akashic records ever change later, or is it like reading something that has already happened? So the information in the Akashic records, I always give the analogy of a slinky. Think about a slinky, end to end, it's solid, right? It's connected, but you can expand it or contract it. And that has a lot to do with, speeding up time, slowing down time. So the information is there. It's all interconnected, but has a little bit of flex, a little bit of breathing room, kind of like a slinky. That's the best way to think about, best analogy. 28. What was the purpose of Vance and Peter Thiel meeting in Montana this week? For entertainment purposes only, it looks like they're trying to push Project 2025 information and planning forward for what they hope would have been an eventual takeover of the government. Looks like a lot of Project 2025 related planning. It's not going to take place, though. 27, dear Sterling and team, another male body has been pulled from Ladybird Lake in Austin, Texas. The body totals around 38, with most being found since 2022. Everyone except the police department suspects a serial killer, the Rainy Street Ripper. Is this because of a serial killer operating in Austin? Yes, 100%. There is a serial killer operating in that area. think I've read on this before, but I see it's somebody in a position of power, which is kind of interesting. When the actual serial killer is identified, it'll be surprising to people who this person is because they have some sort of power and influence. Okay. 26, 45 has pressured some of the top law firms in the country to provide hundreds of millions of dollars worth of legal representation to him for his PAC. Presumably, he would use these firms if, I'm sorry, presumably he would use these firms if he was charged with election interference or treason. Would these firms actually represent him if it's discovered that the election was rigged and he really lost? Some of these firms are going to represent him, but it'll be unsuccessful. They'll be unsuccessful in representing him because actually the evidence is going to be irrefutable. Okay, we talked about this a little bit earlier. 25 in the countdown. Will Peter Thiel get access to people and governments in other countries to add to his Palantir technology? And what will he do with the information? He will try to aggregate all this information, but I do get safeguards being put in place using artificial intelligence technology, other types of encrypting technology, distributed ledger technology, that's like the back end for a blockchain in order to kind of counteract this. So it's like there's new programs or new safety plans going to be put in place to help protect people's data, but they'll certainly try to aggregate all the data and try to do something nefarious with it. That's true. 24, as anxiety attacks are so common now and have increased in the past 5 years, is it a coincidence that this increase was driven by the COVID aftermath? I get this is actually a result of a lot of the increased changes going on in society, right? In our society, our daily lives, and politics, and I don't get directly related to the pandemic, but I get it related to a lot of severe challenges and daily stresses, life stresses people are going through. Right, this it creates kind of a balance between spirituality, critical thinking, and watching what information you take in. But that's really what they're telling me. I don't see it related directly to, say, the COVID aftermath. 23. Recently in the news, two Chinese individuals were stopped at an airport carrying some form of bacteria that would be used on agriculture, and once humans consume the food, they would get sick. Are there any such plots in the works still? If so, will they be caught before doing harm? Not to scare anybody, but I do see that there are a handful of biological plots around the food supply. But I get with testing, it's going to be uncovered. I know some of the testing labs have been pulled back, but it looks like for some reason, whatever these bacterial, let's say, plots are, of people bringing harmful bacteria into the food chain, it's uncovered very quickly for some reason. So it's like not so hard to uncover. It's like maybe food spoils faster or something, and then the authorities are onto it. So it looks like there are a couple more plots going on, but they'll be uncovered very quickly. 22, how do you know if you're talking to your spirit team or a negative entity? I'll ask yes or no questions, and sometimes they are accurate and sometimes they are not. So, we talk about this all the time. Practice makes perfect. Only trust what you can validate. And I talk all the time about that simple 5-minute day homework you can do. I talk about all the time. Takes 2 weeks the first time you do it. I won't go through all the details here, but you do have to create a regimen or a practice. It's not meditation, but asking your guides and angels to step forward, ask them to reveal information for you, ask them a question. It's all part of a homework assignment I lay out in our Platinum membership under instructional videos. But long story short, as you develop that technique, it's the creative mind center that connects with the other side, everything on the other side. And as information comes through, you learn to trust it through validation. So that's how you understand whether you're talking to yourself, to your guides or angels, some other family member, or even an entity that's negative, even a prankster spirit. Okay? So you have to vet the information. That's key. 21, do you see a cure in the near future for a left and right side stroke paralysis? I do. Here again, it's about a decade away. So you're looking about the year 2035, but it looks like genetic engineering technology is going to be very good at defining how to prevent strokes or prevent paralysis. And then once they figure out how to like prevent it, then they develop some cures here for how to kind of reverse some of the damage. So, and I see that with a lot of every time I look at this with the other side, genetic engineering and CRISPR technology, a lot of it's a decade away to 15 years away. And it always seems like it goes through some sort of first we have to identify how to prevent it, and then the second phase is always how do we then help the cells in the body restore. Okay. 20. China has given new air defense, satellite, and radar systems technology recently to Pakistan to aid in the clash with India. Do you see substantial damage to India in the upcoming conflicts between India and Pakistan? I get military jet assets, like air assets, are going to get lost. I get that. Something about the new technology will take down more jets, military jets. I don't see that this correlates, my team saying, directly to, say, destruction on the ground, but it's certainly going to limit the ability of, let's say, a strike force. So I do see that. So it's more of kind of a strategic thing going on here rather than a lot of human loss. 19. Why are there so few countries making a deal with the current administration regarding trade? Are the leaders of these countries aware that the end is near for his administration, so they're not bothering? Yes, they understand that 45's time in office, the clock is ticking, and they do not want to enter into long-term agreements that would tie them up for years to decades, for example. So that's very true. 18 in the countdown. Will the World Cup and the Summer Olympics go ahead? Yes, but many events are going to get rescheduled or relocated to other areas like Mexico and Canada. So there's a rescheduling, a reshuffling going on, probably due to problems going on around the US. 17. In the PNW, there's a manhunt for Travis Decker. So it's a Pacific Northwest, I assume here. It is a horrific situation where he's currently missing after murdering his three young daughters. Will he be found? When and where? I get he's going to be found in the next few weeks in the southern part of the U.S. Southern part. That's what they're telling me. It could be southeast, but they're saying southern part to me over the next few weeks here. So it's going to be found relatively soon. 16. How do extraterrestrials feel about humans wanting to explore outer space? They actually help whenever they can. They actually try to facilitate space exploration to try to help Homo sapiens sapiens. So they understand kind of the laboratory that is Earth. They try to help with exploration. They're always trying to move humanity forward, so they're very supportive of it. In fact, this reminds me that many astronauts have extraterrestrial ship and other types of sightings. They don't always talk about it, but a lot of ET species will show themselves to astronauts, for example. 15 the countdown. My daughter and I experienced a lot of contact with entities throughout our childhood. Some looked human, some did not. She described her experiences in her teen years, and they exactly mirrored mine. We seem to be connected by telepathy, similar dreams, experience, etc. What is going on here? How do we build on it? You're part of the same soul family, not surprising, unique soul family. This is like you and your daughter. The other thing is that you're sharing some clairs, some clairvoyance and clairaudience. So you can develop your unique clairs and then actually work even more collaboratively together. And you'll be able to call it up at will and help a lot of people. So you have kind of there's almost like some hidden talents here you can develop and then use collectively together. 14, if someone has a beloved pet that is suffering and we are willing to let them go and not prolong their pain because we feel that euthanasia is the kindest thing to do for them, does the pet understand our desire for them to not suffer? Yes, and it's hard to understand. Remember, but animals are here to teach us a lesson. They teach us a lesson of the heart. They're from the angelic realm. Not angels, but they're from the angelic realm. They come down with unconditional love. They understand their life path. So remember, this is all part of you understanding kind of how to move through life. Move to the fact there is no birth, there is no death, a continuum of life. Yes, animals understand. They're actually more advanced than humans are in terms of understanding a life path. 13, I live in Montana. There have been swarms of earthquakes in Idaho, not far from Yellowstone. There are concerns of a supervolcano or eruption. Does your team have any concerns? Don't see any super volcano eruptions. I mean, at a magnitude that would really strike at humanity for something like 100,000 years. That's a long time in the future. There will be some eruptions, there's some activity, but in terms of a massive eruption, the called cataclysmic event, my team's saying not for like 100,000 years, and all sorts of other things will be happening in a good way with humanity by the time we get out there. 12, because of 45's escalation of peaceful demonstrations now using the Marines, when 45 and his regime are indicted by the International Criminal Court, how will we be able to use the military to ensure some sort of removal or decertification? Will it only be our military or military from other NATO countries? First off, I just want to make it clear decertification is a term that my angelic team uses all the time. People somehow get tied up with the actual legality or how decertification works. In principle, the regime in 45 will be decertified. There'll be a number of things happening. There's treason charges. There's all sorts of things happening around this. Now, there's going to be groups of countries that are going to come to support the U.S. along with the U.S. military. This is a group process. It's not a one-off. It's a very unique situation. So Congress will be involved, the Supreme Court, our military, NATO, lots of elements. 11, when you refer to the AIMS strategy, AIMS, the M being for movement or military, is that meaning the military will remove 45, or is that referring to the military action 45 is illegally doing in Los Angeles and possibly everywhere? Yes, I think we just addressed that. The M for movement and military is a broad scope term that involves, military action in a number of levels, a number of ways. I don't want to get into too much detail. Remember, these shows are about providing people insight to the universe and the other side, but they're not about compromising any kind of a process that the government's going through. Okay. 10, do you see a bigger role in the Democratic Party for Congressman James Tallarico of Texas? His intellect and demeanor remind me of Pete Buttigieg. In approximately a decade, he's definitely going to be in Congress and have a role in Texas House of Representatives or something. No, I'm sorry. Okay, it's beyond that. So they're saying like beyond his role in the Texas House of Representatives, like moving up much higher in Congress. Yeah, so it looks like there is a role down the road for him. I don't see him getting to president or vice president, but they're showing a more active, more important role in Congress. Let's say not just limited to Texas. 9, this is my first time asking a question. I've heard you many times talk about our soul's plan purpose, life lessons for our time on earth. How do we know what these lessons are and if we are on the right path to learn these lessons? So I always tell you, you can never get off your life path. You may not understand what your life path is. It may take talking with your local professional psychic medium. You can never get off your life path. Free will affects your life path with the 3 S's, speed, scope, and scale. But you never get off your life path. So, it's funny. A lot of people inherently can be teacher healers or creator innovators or just generally what they call pathfinders or creatives or legal scholars or politicians. You never really get off your life path, but how you embrace it and the reinforcement you get, whether you're staying in the flow of the universe, has a lot to do with how energized you feel. Another way of looking at it is, let's say if you're trying to get off your life path, which you can't, but you're getting a lot of no's everywhere, like hitting your head against the wall. That's a good sign you're kind of not going the exact right direction. Listen to the universe. So a good question. There are 12 different life path purposes. We'll provide more information on that later. 8, is the story about our soul's true nature being so-called stuck on earth as prisoners true? No truth at all to these assertions for what's going on Earth as the giant laboratory and school that it is for Homo sapiens sapiens, and they're not prisoners. No. Also, this is not a matrix environment. It's not a simulation. Seven, what do you see as the future of the Republican Party after 45 and his administration are revealed as illegitimate due to their election interference? They're going to fall back, regroup, and try to come at it again with like Project, 2028, 2029. So it's never going to go away. It's a little bit like a cancer in society, but it'll be extremely mitigated. Six, what does a portal look like? Is it like a door or a silo? The best way to think about portals is if you look at, let's say, hot weather coming off hot pavement. Like think about a mirage. If you're driving on your way to Las Vegas and you look down the roadway and you see kind of ripples in the distance, a lot of times portals can look like a rippling of the air. And in fact, that it's like a plasma effect, the same plasma effect you see from anti-gravity systems used on a lot of extraterrestrial ships. So it looks kind of like a waviness in the air. If you stand very close to it, you're not going to see the waviness. If you walk through one, you definitely feel one. Most people don't walk through portals. They extend above Earth. Think about the one in the northern part of Utah at Skinwalker Ranch is hundreds of feet up in the air. But yeah, they could look like a rippling of air. That's the best way to describe it. Five, ECETI or Aseti Ranch at Trout Lake in Washington State near Mount Adams is supposed to be a site of a great deal of UFO activity. In fact, they offer viewings to the public. Does your team think these are real UFOs or UAPs? I do see for some reason there's a great deal of overblown entertainment application of what's going on here at this Trout Lake or Aseti Ranch. There have been I'm getting there's some minimal UAP, UFO activity, but somehow it's gotten overblown in a way that's created like this big entertainment, amusement kind of a site. So, people can do whatever they want, but it looks like it's not a highly active area. Has been a little bit of activity, but it's kind of over exaggerated, almost, it's gone too Hollywood, okay? Four, hi Sterling, are all ETs smart and more intelligent than humans? They are. Nearly all of the advanced extraterrestrial forms, if you look at them, are, because of millions of years of evolution, millions of years, are more intelligent. They're more tied in. They don't fight. They don't try to kill each other the way a lot of Homo sapiens do. They are. And this owes to their evolution through many long history. Okay? 3, 2, and 1. I always take notes before I start these shows, so I'll start to share those with you. Number 3, do your ET friends have anything they want to share with us directly? Remember, the Earth is going through massive geological, climate, and energetic changes right now, and we have witnessed this in prior Earth centuries. You will all be kept safe, but keep in mind, watch your thoughts, because they indeed create your own reality. Number 2, what do you see coming up this week? New information coming out this week on the India Airlines tragedy, leading to a combination of human error as well as a technology malfunction. New replacements for 2 senior 45 White House members of staff. More ongoing Middle East violence in Ukraine, as well as Israel and Iran, but no nuclear devices deployed. We did talk about the bumper buster technology. New school shooting in the Midwest of the country. And there's also one coming up on the East Coast, I'm sorry to say. So it looks like authorities are going to get on top of it pretty quickly, but there's another school shooting event, Midwest, and also looks like one on the East Coast here. New violence and ongoing protest in regards to ICE agents, and a relaxing of ICE agent efforts due to successful nationwide protests. So that's actually nationwide protests have really slowed down a lot of the ICE activity. Number 1 in the countdown. Do you have anything your guides want to share? This is a period of rapid changes for the better. Stay the course, watch your thoughts. Remember to replenish yourself on a regular basis. On that note, that concludes the show that we're recording today on Saturday, 21st of June, 2025. Be deployed on all media platforms Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. As always, if you want to join our Platinum membership, experience our live streams on Fridays, answer a plethora of questions from members, plethora of all types of questions. You can join our Platinum membership, join button on the front page of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as our YouTube site. Our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. I will be doing a show with Linda G, the Comanche Psychic, on the 29th, which is a week from tomorrow. And I'll be looking forward to doing that. You'll be able to find that show on Linda G, the Comanche Psychic's channel. This is a quick programming note for you. And on that note, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.